Hey, how's it going, everybody? It's KFK Crypto here. I got an awesome video prepared for PulseX, and yeah, we got the red and the green in the back. We got the hat with all the winners on it. Yeah, I'm super excited to share this info with you guys. I was literally like jumping up and down just thinking about it, and I shared it with some of my close friends, just the ideas of it, and they got it almost immediately, and they were like, "Wow, I understand that," and I'm not even like deep into crypto, and they just think it's a great opportunity. I thought I'd share it in video form with everybody, get everybody on the same page, understanding how massive this could be. Let's get started. You guys really like PulseX content, I can tell, because you guys love to retweet and like my posts about just mentioning that I'm going to make a video about PulseX again. So I hope you guys are excited for this one. I just want to thank all my Patreons and Twitter subscribers, my members on YouTube, and everybody who hits like and subscribe. Helps get this video out to more people, so more people hear about this awesome opportunity. We want that network effect. We want to help as many people as possible get into the best cryptos that aren't scams, so people can make life-changing returns. We're all in this together. I want everyone to be using the best monetary system in the world, the best appreciating stuff in the world. Like, why go for the subpar stuff? If you haven't hit the like on the video already, please do that. I think you're gonna like it. Now, the people who subscribed on Twitter, I did release a little bit of a teaser on some of my notes. I know I have like chicken scratch handwriting. It's pretty bad. Yeah, just for taking quick notes, it helps me work through some stuff. But I thought it'd be fun just to share a little bit of like what I write down a lot of stuff on paper, and it helps me work things out. You know, I will erase some stuff, get some stuff wrong. Sometimes I go through a whole idea and I realize, oh, this didn't actually work out as planned, but sometimes I figure out some stuff I didn't even expect. Like my McDonald's video, originally the plan for that video was going in and seeing like, hey, did Hex outperform McDonald's in less time? Even though they were out for, like, McDonald's has been around for 55 years. And to my surprise, I found out McDonald's actually did way better than I thought. They did like 250,000x over 55 years though. So if you haven't checked out that video, it's really good. A lot of people liked that. I'm trying to get more of those people who are looking for stock videos into crypto. If they haven't heard about it or understand it, or they're afraid of it, you know, you got to start somewhere, and you got to go where people are looking for certain stuff, pivot them into the cooler, better thing if they just weren't aware of it. Be sure to follow on Twitter, all that. All right, let's get into the amazing infos. Hypothetical. Let's talk about, what if PulseX dumps, guys? What if it dumps minus 90% from stack rate? We're not including bonuses. 10,000 PulseX per dollar. So if the price were to go to 100,000 PulseX per dollar, that's a minus 90% in price. Or you could say it's a minus 10x, because you're 10xing the amount of coins that you get for a dollar. That means the price went down minus 90%. This means you get 100,000 PulseX per dollar. The baseline info you need to understand about PulseX, this is just one feature of it. There's other stuff. Maybe I'll get to that in this video, maybe another video. Right off the top, the buy and burn is a big deal. Baseline info to understand. For every $1 billion of volume traded on any of the, like, throughout the whole DEX of PulseX, every time there's $1 billion of volume, we're getting $600,000 of buy pressure for PulseX. It buys it off of the market, and then it burns it, deletes it. So it can't be sold ever. It just becomes buy pressure, buys up some supply. So you always have a buyer in the market as long as there's volume on the DEX. If people value anything else on the DEX and they're willing to trade for it, they're basically buying PulseX as well. I thought, let's go with a more conservative number. Let's assume we get 1/6 of that volume for a year. $1 billion of volume a day is kind of what Uniswap has. They sometimes go up to 2 billion a day. Sometimes they're like 500 million a day. So they do range around there. But let's assume we get 1/6 of their kind of average day. That would mean we get $166 million of total DEX volume, which seems reasonable to me with how big the Hex community is. And leading into this next bull run, we're going to have volume numbers in DEXs, I think, skyrocketing again. I think we're still in like these slight doldrums of waiting for more and more users to come back to DeFi. So that 166 million of total DEX volume would be 100K daily buy and burn. Remember, because we 1/6 it, and since $1 billion was 600K, 1/6 would be 100K buy and burn. This means at a price of 0.0001 or actually there's an extra zero in there because it's 100,000 PulseX for $1. Because remember, we're assuming somehow the price drops down 90%. Because I've seen some people say like, oh, it's going to drop below stock price. It's going to go down so much because everybody wants to sell. I'm like, all right, let's just assume the worst. And somebody has so much PulseX and they just would love to sell it for minus 90% after waiting a year and a half. The buy and burn alone is purchasing 10 billion tokens a day. And how do I know that? Because 100K, so $100,000 from the buy and burn, is buying 100,000 tokens because each dollar of that 100K buys 100,000. If you multiply that together, that's 10 billion PulseX a day. And so unless the price went up to reduce how much the buy and burn could get, someone would have to be selling that down to keep it at minus 90%. So you're just wondering like, oh, so it's like really hard to keep the price down on PulseX, because someone would have to be selling billions and billions and billions of tokens just to counteract the buy and burn. So yeah, and that's if no one else is buying it. Over the first year, I did some extra math here. Over the first year, that would mean there's 3.65 trillion tokens bought and then burnt forever if it stayed down at minus 90% in price. And 3.65 trillion is 25.17% of the user-owned supply. So the user-owned supply is around 10% of the total supply. There's 143 trillion total supply. Around 90% of that is owned by the OA. Now 14.3 trillion is around the user-owned supply because it's around 10%. There would have to be basically billions of PulseX sold daily just to offset the buy and burn. Now it basically means the price just cannot stay at minus 90% for 4 years because there'd be no supply left, even with only 100K in daily buy and burn and no one else buying, because there'd be zero supply left. That there's no way they could keep up with adding supply to push the price down because it's literally 1/4 of it. Yeah. You just can't. You can't keep it down. There will only be more buying pressure as volume grows as well. There's no cap to how much buy pressure the buy and burn can have. It's not like, max, we're going to get this amount. It's like as long as there's demand for anything else in the entire Pulse chain ecosystem, there's going to be volume on the DEX, which means there's going to be more buy pressure for PulseX, just inadvertently. So imagine we did get up to Uniswap's volume. So that would mean 600K a day, which would mean 21.9 trillion PulseX bought and burnt a year. That's literally more than the total user supply by like 50%. So it's like the price has to go up. You can't, like, there's no way it could stay minus 90%. So pretty much if you sacrificed for PulseX, you have to make money, unless there's a reason there's no volume at all on PulseX somehow, and then there's less buy and burn. But like if we get any of these numbers, like just look at PancakeSwap. Check this out. I just made it big so everybody can see. So back in 2021, they were doing some days 2, 3, 4, 2, 3 billion. Then they were doing 500 million. And then they were doing 500 million, a billion, 500 to a billion, the 2 billion. They're just doing this on the DEX like that. Dude, that's multiple millions a day. Like this is high pressure. You'd be just, it's like a billionaire just coming in and just like, I'm going to allocate some into PulseX today. Oh, I'm going to buy it. I'm never going to sell it. Just going to throw my stacks in there. Just buying it every day. Because if you think about it, $2 billion of volume a day is $1.2 million of buy pressure extra that can never be sold. But okay, let's get more realistic here, guys. All right, so this is 500 mil. And remember, the calculations we did earlier was with only $166 million of daily volume, which led to 100K of buy pressure. And so these even 500 mil days, 670 mil days, that's triple, quadruple. So it'd be like $200,000 to $300,000 of buy pressure. So we have to speed up the clock on how much PulseX is being bought. And so even as we get closer to modern days, they're going down to 200 mil, 170, 300, 170 mil, 100 mil. And then these are 2023. Like I told you, we're in the doldrums. But even now, I'm over here looking at May, we're looking at 200 mil, 300 mil, 200 mil. And these are really low compared to back here, ending of the bull market and early bull market. And so as we're ramping up, we could see double and triple these numbers, double, triple, quadruple. We might even 10x these volume numbers by the end of the next bull run. So you're just like, how much buy pressure are we gonna have, guys? Like, what? This is crazy. And even if we only get, you know, the 100 mil volume a day, that's still just crazy buy pressure. And over time, you'll see the effect of it constantly removing supply from inside the pools and then never selling it. You always have a buyer with PulseX as long as there's people using the DEX, which is like super important for value accrual. And I think a lot of people are going to realize that, hey, if I know that there's just going to be this buyer for this thing, I better just get a bunch of this because this guy will buy it at any price. The price of PulseX could be $1,000 per coin one day. That's totally possible because there's always going to be this platform buying it. It doesn't care what the price is. It could be $1,000 a coin and it'll put $600,000 into it and only get 600 of them. Like it'll be like, yeah, 600K. Let's put it into PulseX and it'll get 600. And you're like, wow, if I have 600 PulseX and it's $1,000 a coin, I have $600,000 because this thing will buy it from me at that price because it doesn't care. Like, so people think like these numbers sound ridiculous and insanely crazy, but hey, I mean, if you sell to the bot and it buys up the price and the price is now higher, now if you want to get that position again, you have reduced your position because you have to buy it at a higher price. You may never get that position back again. It just seems like this coin is about, it's like, oh, train's leaving the station, hope your bags are packed. This is crazy. This is insane. Like it buying more than the total supply that users have by 50%. If the price goes down 90% from sack rate. And the whole point of me saying that is like, I just don't see how we could lose as being a sacrificer for PulseX. As we just demonstrated, it's hard for the price to stay down unless there's constant like tens of billions being sold to counteract the buying of tens of billions just from the system itself. This is if no one's buying it. Like what? That's crazy. That's crazy. I thought I had to share that with you guys. So just keep that in mind. Like I just don't see how the price could be lower than sack rate for very long at all if it ever even dumps. And also check this out. If there's some pools here too, you're holding PulseX. It's being bought up by the bot constantly, all day, every day. And you're earning tokens that aren't PulseX so that you can sell them and buy more PulseX to compound your gains. PulseX has constant extra buy pressure from the yield that people are getting for holding PulseX. Like people love compounding their gains. They're like, oh, I'm earning more of this token so that I can earn more of other tokens. Usually when people are doing that, like in cake, they're earning more cake. So they have to sell their cake to make a profit and they can't actually buy more cake with cake returns. It's just like Hex and pulsechain. If you are earning in that same token, for you to realize those gains, you have to hurt the price. So if you want to realize the gains, you can't really compound your stack without selling the price down. But in PulseX, you're actually able to earn other tokens and then you sell that, buying up the price of PulseX, because you want to earn even more in these pools that allow you to get stuff for free. I don't know. It's possible that some of those PRC20s could become a pool in the future. We could see tons and tons of pools for maybe some of those PRC20s. Wouldn't that be interesting? I'm not saying that's guaranteed. It's just an idea. It's possible. I've heard of some tokens from new stuff being launched on the Pulse chain that they would like to supply some of their tokens to the PulseX people because it's great brand awareness. It's like, hey, all you rich PulseX people, check out our coin. People love like getting coupons or free samples and then they buy more because they get interested. They wouldn't have checked it out otherwise, but they got it for free. If they just give a small percentage of their supply away, then it could be price positive for their own coin, even if some of the users just sell it for more PulseX. Keep that in mind. It's crazy because like if people were farming in the PulseX pools right now, you'd hear a lot more people bullish on PulseX. But the fact that it hasn't been anything interesting in there yet, people are just like, oh, well, I'll be honest. The Pulse chain validation stuff, now that that's changed, it's definitely there's a stronger reason to buy Pulse than before. I don't think it makes me think it's more long-term bullish than say PulseX still, but now that they've actually increased the APY and you can actually earn more Pulse, that's great. Like, I think that's good to have incentives for people to become validators. But guess what? If they want to realize any of those gains, they got to sell the price of Pulse down. They got to be like, all right, I earned all this extra Pulse. If I want those to be real gains, I have to sell the price of Pulse down. Whereas with PulseX, you can just earn other stuff, never selling PulseX down, but still getting yield. Hard to compete with that. And you don't need to pay for any hardware. These are just all types of things. I don't think people in the general population are going to realize all that right away. So I do think there might be a price discrepancy for some time where people are going to be like, oh man, Pulse is the one, Pulse is the one. So PulseX might fail versus pulsechain for a little bit. It might suffer price-wise, but then I think over time it's going to be like, wait, what's happening? Like, where's the supply of PulseX? It just keeps getting drained out of the pools, just keeps getting bought up, and then it's never showing up again. So that basically means the price has to be going up. And so I think once people realize that and they start to see PulseX pools come online, they're just going to be like, oh, I don't want to be buying hardware and trying to figure out all this other stuff. I'd rather just click some buttons and earn some yield and sell that stuff and buy more of the thing that I can just stake it and earn free stuff. There's a lot of stuff in the pipeline coming for PulseX. There's also potential V3 of PulseX that might come out if we ever go to like a Uniswap version 3 type of upgrade for PulseX. And if we can figure out a way to get people to earn certain stuff or get that volume that's in V3 to work with the buy and burn, if that's possible, if that comes out, it could be huge. Because as we've seen with Uniswap and stuff, I think a majority of the volume is from V3 now. So we would like to see that in the future. And these are all like future potential things that could be amazing for price. As people realize it, they go, oh, I'm going to FOMO in. But guess what? You don't have to FOMO if you already aren't missing out because you have it, because you realize all this stuff beforehand. You don't want to be the guy FOMOing. You want to be the guy like, oh, these things might happen in the future. I'm a good speculator. I'm going to go and get some early when everyone else thinks it's worth less than it should be. I'm thinking there's lots and lots of potential for lots of volume. I think this is a good demonstration of like why the price of PulseX can't really stay down for very long as there's volume on the DEX. So as long as there's volume on the DEX, this stuff stands true that you'd have to be selling billions of PulseX a day just to keep the price at equilibrium. I think that's my super excited PulseX video to show you guys the power of the buy and burn, especially if the price is super low. We're going to be burning tons of supply. Like the lower the price of PulseX is, the more supply percentage that gets bought up and removed. It's just this auto balancing of, oh, if it's lower price, then the buy and burn's taking up more percent of the supply. More of it will be burned in the future, so it'll be even more rare in the future. Otherwise, the price just goes up a lot, and no one's upset with that. It's like it's either price up or price is down and supply is going down even faster. Man, if there's really like a huge discrepancy between Pulse and PulseX, that might be a good chance for some people who have conviction in the future of PulseX to maybe transfer some Pulse to PulseX. I'm not saying that's financial advice or even what I will do. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised if some people would be happy trading multiple, like they'd rather get multiple on their bag of sacrificed coins as opposed to dividing it. Like I had a post the other day on Twitter where it's like if you trade your PulseX for Pulse at like 3-to-1, then you're gonna have a third of the coins because you devalued your PulseX against the Pulse like day one. And so now you have a third of the number of things that can be multiplied by price later. Like, wouldn't you rather have way bigger of a number? And then as these buy and burn, the pools come out, more and more people realize how the buy and burn works. Like I think a lot of people, if they understood the buy and burn and how it's actually buying up the price and it's not just a burn, that they would realize what's going to happen over time as that accumulates. And you just have over time, it's like, oh, 2 years have gone past. How much buy pressure has been added to the system? Oh, it's actually maybe a couple $100 million have been added. And so you're like, if you realize that ahead of time, you just know that there's a couple $100 million coming in the next couple of years. So if you want to sell into hundreds of millions of dollars, you can possibly do that if you hold it. So as more and more people realize that, I think it's just a really bullish horizon for PulseX. Very excited about it. Just remember, there's never financial advice. I'm not telling anybody to buy this. I'm just saying some information about it. Seems like could be good. Be sure to follow on Twitter if you want to see more updates on specifics. And I release little teasers sometimes to my subscribers on Twitter. It's not like a paid group or anything, so don't go in there hoping you're going to get the craziest alpha. I might just give you teasers and stuff in there, at least for now. Thank you to all my Patreons. I don't thank you guys enough. And I will try to start adding even more content over there, some guides and stuff like that as we lead into pulsechain launch. Be sure to like, subscribe, check out my other videos. I got tutorials on how to bridge stuff. I got tutorials on how to trade and farm. All very important skills to have for when pulsechain launches. And I also do videos like this. So if you like this kind of stuff, learning about the intricacies of what mechanisms are actually doing and what it could mean for price, I do make some videos about that. So if you like that stuff, be sure to follow and I'll be making more of it. So thanks for watching, guys, and peace.